problem of Africa is Africans ourselves. Socially, politically, and economically. So we should not blame Westerners to be the major causes of Africans' problem, which Africa is facing now. Africa is squeezed by many problems that are caused by ourselves. Poverty and inequality. It is only Africa's country come on the first list of poor countries. So how comes to find poor countries in the world are from Africa? While you find many minerals and good products are from Africa. It is here in Africa where we have many gold, cobalt, oil and other products, coffee and tea, cotton. But always African countries come on the list of poor countries. And what will make you wonder, many poor or poor countries we have in Africa are those countries minerals. Country known on many minerals, oils, cobalt, gold and others are the ones come on the first list of poor countries in the world. Here in Africa. So which means many problems are caused by ourselves. Many African countries want to exploit another countries. How? You must ask yourself, how comes to find those non-poor countries are the ones come on the highland on countries with minerals? So inequality in Africa. It is here in Africa where people are categorized in social classes. We have many people in Africa on third class, which is peasants. The big number of people who stays in Africa are poor people. Not lack of products, not lack of minerals or natural resources, but lack of unity in countries, lack of equality. So inequality in Africa are causing problems where people cannot eat on the same plate because they are not in the same class. Where you find people who are appointed in government are those people who have money. So poor people and who have ideas have no power or have no opportunity to bring their point on table. So it is here in Africa where you find people are categorized in classes where poor people of third class have no opportunity to raise their point, to raise anything, to bring anything on table. So their ideas are not considered. The problem of Africa is not lack of resources, it's lack of knowledge, it's lack of unity, it's lack of equality, it's lack of fraternity. Political instability and corruption. Here in Africa, I may say that corruption is must. It is rare to find someone in government who appointed, elected, work perfectly as how it's supposed to work. Many African leaders are corrupt. Many African leaders, they reach votes. It is only in Africa where you find someone, if he's elected to be a minister, the deputy has to be his brother, then the secretary, his aunt, you see, the driver, her daughter or his daughter, then in other sectors, uncles and aunties. So Africans, we are very corrupt. It is only in Africa where government can sit and budget and give amount of money which will go in the midst of construction or in other element, where you find that money, it will reach to the people, the all who are supposed to construct or to build those roads, when it is half of budget. And just government sleep, just sit and don't mind about that. So the major problem of Africa are caused by Africans. Politically, many problems that we are facing, many Africans are stateless, are fatherless, are no longer in their properties because of poor leadership we have in Africa. When you go deep, we find many problems we have in Africa are caused by African leaders. It is here only in Africa where you can find president is a leader for 40 years. Now, my mentor last time, Professor Lumumba, said that no matter how a good dancer you are, when you delayed on stage, you spoil it. So a good leader must know time to leave power. But in Africa, if you came on power using God, so you have to wait also the people to come to fight you to leave power. It is rare in Africa to find someone is reading for 7 years or 10 years according to the constitution and leave. So someone come in peace but live in quarrels. It is only in Africa where you find African Union. We can call it any other name, but if someone is no longer working, we call him a dead body. In East African community, in 1999, there is a treatment. There is agreement that have been signed up to now are not yet implemented. So in African market, in East Africa, let me talk about East Africa, where I find there is agreement which they agreed about trade, free trade marketing. But up to now, when someone buy a clothes from a certain country, let me say from Nairobi to Uganda, you find that person have to pay for it on the border. That's corruption. So, who will solve Africans' problems? It is me and you. It is ourselves. Let me tell you, the current leaders, the current Africans' parents, the current Africans, if we don't mind, if we don't wake up and work on our issue, no one will come out of our continent to solve Africans' problems. We don't expect. So it is problem. All African countries are depending on Westerners, on foreigners, aids. So we can't wake up and work for our continent. Many problems are facing in our continent are caused by African ourselves. Let us talk about education of Africa. It is only in Africa where we find agriculture, it is option, but English, it is compulsory. Yes or not, everyone has to study English, but agriculture, if you want, you can do it. If you don't want it, you cannot. It is only in Africa. I remember in my high school, in history, European history was compulsory, but African nationalism was option. So you will never see Chinese using Africans curriculum in their education. You will never see America using Africans curriculum in their education. But for us here in Africa, it's why you find we are using curriculum of England, of Portugal, of Chinese, of Indians, and America. So those are problems that are caused by Africans, leaders, ourselves. So no one will come to solve those problems apart from our leaders. So those who cause those problems, they are the ones with the secret of the root causes of those problems. And we must solve it. If we don't want to solve these problems, no one will come to solve these problems. Let me tell you, there is people who try to fight about this continent, about to bring change. When you talk about some Pan-Africanists, such as Kwame Nkrumah, Marcus Garvey, Dubois, and others. So, what is the contribution of current leaders of Africa in raising this continent? We always sing songs of unity. We always see people taking picture in Europe, in African Union, in Ethiopia, in Tanzania, in South Africa, but we wait for implementation of the agreement, but we see nothing. We need to stand and rise points that build our continent, depending on ourselves. So you know, when you are still young, we depend on your parents. So you cannot think beyond that. You cannot think how to build yourselves. So when we depend on European aids and American aids and Chinese aids, we shall not make any mile. We shall never leave any legacy for our continent. We need to wake up and build this continent. Africa for Africa. Africa will be built by Africans ourselves.